Happy Strange Sunday, Comic Geeks, and welcome back to the Script Heroes podcast. This month we have a Strange Sunday Super Show coming to you, and we are talking about Kaiju Score from writer James Patrick, artist Rembu, letterer Dave Sharp. It is a fun ride. It is a heist book at its very core, with a silly little twist that you might have gotten from the title. It's a world where kaiju are huge, like, weather phenomenon, essentially. This is a book that follows a lot of the tropes of, yes, I love those little, the world building in this book is so fun. And we'll get to that in a minute. But let me give you a quick rundown of what happens in this book. It's your classic heist book, with our little heist team that's made up of Marco, who is our leader, our planner, but his fatal flaw is that he always misses some little detail that causes a heist to go awry. We have Gina, whose fatal flaw is that she's not actually Gina, world-renowned safecracker. She is, in fact, Michelle, who just killed Gina and took her place so that she can get in on this score and save her old heist crew, despite the fact that she is not as good a safecracker as Gina is supposed to be. We've also got Palmero, who shall henceforth refer to as Black Cat, because his fatal flaw is that he brings bad luck to every single heist that he is on, whether that means that a cable snaps, killing somebody, or I don't know, there's some real silly ones there. I'll get into them in a minute. And then rounding out the team is Pearson, the junkyard dog of our our malicious benefactor, the bankroller, who will kill everyone if this heist is unsuccessful.
Yeah. Very, very aggressive man.
Very aggressive man. But we mainly follow Marco, who is our planner. Yes. And throughout this book, we get some... I feel like they almost serve as, like, in the Ocean's movies, when the little, like, boxes cut away and they show everybody doing their things. We have these, like, we have these super stylized sections in this book that we actually open up with, where we get the kind of the meat of the heist, where we get, like, the planning of it. And this is a season where mullet fish, because of global warming, have spawned in great number and will be traveling along the Floridian coast, which is great because mullet fish are a favorite snack of kaiju, specifically one by the name of Muhara. It is a massive weather event when these kaiju do a landfall and go and bask in the sun, and everyone is evacuated. So Marco, being the keen planner that he is, has recognized this as an opportunity for a beautiful art heist. We get our great introductions to all of our characters, with Michelle killing Gina, with Black Cat going to ask someone for a job and just his very presence making a racing dog's leg break, with our buddy Pearson threatening to cut off so many dicks. He loves cutting off dicks. It's accurate. Like, he talks about cutting off dicks, he talks about cutting off people's balls, his boss talks about your balls being in an alligator's mouth. There's a lot of dick energy from the bankrollers of this beautiful excursion.
You have, like, a creepy name for him too. He's like some sort. He's got a creepy name, the benefactor dude.
The benefactor dude, he sure does. It's like Blackie something.
Yeah, it's like Black something.
But he is a benefactor who will bankroll jobs that nobody else will, because the penalty for losing him money is horrible torture.
Horrific death.
Yeah. Torture and death.
Long,
Blackie Mendoza is the loan shark. So we get into the planning phase. It's something that I think that those little cutaways to these stylized pages do a really good job with, because you get in these heist books, and a lot of the interesting part of it is, like, how they figure these plans out.
Yeah.
But that's not necessarily interesting to just have told to you. So using these, like, bold colored pages with the kind of, like, big graphics and stuff, they let Marco explain things to us really quickly, really well. We learned that Marco's all set. He's got a man on the inside. He's got a plan to get into the safe of this art museum, which houses these very expensive art books, art pieces. He is going to dig down into the earth while everyone is evacuated for Muhara's landfall and break into that safe and make off with all these art pieces, because theoretically, these kaiju are dangerous, but not necessarily to humans. They're kind of framed in a sharky way, where it's like, oh, they don't really try to kill
it's more
people.
of the destruction that they cause that could kill you than, like them. They don't eat people, is importantly established.
Exactly.
Multiple times. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the craziness of Marco's plan is still not convincing, even to Blackie, because he's like, it's a kaiju. You can't go be near a kaiju. Like, it likes to bask right in front of this museum, which is important to Marco's plan because it keeps the National Guard away, so nobody antagonizes the kaiju. So Marco, like an absolute madman, camps out in this Floridian city until Muhara does a landfall, takes a selfie with her, and sends it to Blackie to secure his funding.
Yes, in what is a very funny moment in the comic.
Absolutely. Such a great characterization scene, and I feel like that's one of the real strengths of this book. It does a great job with characterizing each of the people on this heist really strongly. Like you can pick up these characters pretty immediately.
Yeah, Marco is not a man who has basically any care for his own life. He's very, very blasé about the fact that this mission is life or death. Yes. For him, it's much more about not failing another big heist.
Yeah, he's a man who values like his reputation above all else, and he has this bad reputation as someone who almost is a genius. Like, he'll come up with these genius plans and then miss a fatal detail. My favorite one was the getaway cars that he was supposed to get for a job.
The time zone. Yeah,
they were an hour late because he gave them the wrong time in the time zone. Like, oh geez, what like a realistic flub. Jesus Christ. So then we get into the actual heist now that he's secured his funding. The team has to hang out, wait for a kaiju to properly do a landfall, so there could be a full evacuation. And this team does not get along. They are constantly at each other's throats. They're constantly threatening to kill each other or cut each other's dicks off. Look, it comes up a lot. You're giving a look, but it's not me. It's Patrick. Patrick did this to us. There's so much dick cutting off, which is fine. I it's strong characterization for Pearson. But the kaiju lands, and just like Marco said, it seems to be pretty peaceful. But just as quickly as things seem to be going to plan, things immediately go off the rails. Marco sees through Michelle's disguise. He's like, hey, you're not Gina. What the fuck? And gets her.
Importantly, she's dyed her hair blonde, whereas Gina actually has blonde hair, and so you can see the not blonde roots, and that's really the thing that gives her away throughout most of this book.
Yeah, which honestly, if you're in this life or death situation, I feel like get your roots touched up, like just especially before you go to do the heist, like not to roast her because she's not like a super experienced criminal. But I hope she's learned her lesson now.
Yeah, I mean, importantly, they might have grown out. They've been waiting a while for the kaiju. It doesn't just come. I think I think it's their fourth try, is what
it is. It is.
So, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. In between tries, get your roots touched up.
doesn't have that the alone time to do that. Maybe
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Kept together. Who knows?
But in any case, Marco sees through her disguise and immediately confronts her about it when they're alone. He also shows off that he has a kaiju parasite with him, because along with all of the supplies we know that they need for the heist, we have 2 mystery barrels, which I loved. I felt like those were so fun and like genre appropriate to be like, we have these like secret MacGuffins for later, where it's like, oh, we're gonna need those barrels, aren't we? Yeah, one of them is a kaiju parasite that Marco has, because if it senses that a kaiju is moving, it'll start like wriggling around because it wants to go latch itself on. And terrifyingly, Marco uses this to threaten Michelle, which is horrifying because its tusks are literally meant to pierce kaiju hide, and they're just like being waved in her face. It's so spooky, and I think shows a different side of Marco for us, like a kind of hardened criminal side, where he is willing to like do whatever he needs to do for this job to happen. Like we've seen him endanger his own life. He's also very blasé about endangering everybody else's lives.
Yeah.
But despite all that, he is kind of a stand-up guy, kind of, in that like he wants to avoid killing people where possible. Pearson, on the other hand,
he follows through to his word. Unlike maybe some other, maybe actually every other criminal on this team, if you count, Michelle faking herself as,
Yeah, I mean, I think Palermo tries his best.
That's true. Palermo
he's just got bad luck.
He's got bad luck.
But less honorable, as in not honorable at all, is Pearson, who, while this is happening, has also gone off book on the plan and killed the inside man and the other guards instead of subduing them and tying them up, because he is very concerned with his own survival and very willing to kill other people, and anything he can do to make this heist even a little bit easier, because if you don't get killed by the kaiju, but you fail the heist, you're getting killed by Blackie. So he's doing everything he can to make sure that there are no loose ends, that nothing could go wrong.
And this is importantly, I think, where it's established by Pearson that it's very much a black and white system by Blackie. It's either you bring him the money or you don't bring him the money. It doesn't matter if you bring him the money and everything went wrong and you get everybody else killed. It doesn't matter if you don't bring him the money but everything went right and something out of your control happened. It is fully just down to whether or not you deliver the money to Blackie.
That's right. So poor Palermo, poor Black Cat, really gets a wake-up call with that. They have such a fun dynamic, Pearson and Palermo. Like, they're always... I mean, I was going to say always on each other's throat, but it's always just Pearson absolutely knocking him down. He calls him Black Cat all the time. He calls him $2 bill. My favorite was when he called him number
Broken
13.
Broken Mirror was there for a little bit.
Broken Mirror is also there, which is... I love... You know what? I'll call him Rabbit's Foot. He eventually gets to be called Rabbit's Foot. I love when we're getting his character introduction towards the end of the first issue as people are like preparing for the heist, and you see that he's like visiting a witch doctor or something so that she can, fix his aura.
And she's just like, nah, you got a lot of bad stuff. Give me $10 more.
So funny. Like, this book does such a good job of being incredibly funny while also like keeping the stakes feeling really high. Like, it never feels like anybody is safe, especially when Pearson is around. But yeah, so we get this rude awakening, and so again, immediately everything should be going fine. It looks like it should be going fine, but these interpersonal things are throwing everything off. But they are simply not the only thing throwing everything off, because the abundance of mullet fish have not only drawn Muhara to the shore, but also Ikatu, another kaiju. And as we learned from reading our little kaiju safety pamphlets, the real danger with kaiju comes when two of them get territorial and aggressive and begin to fight, which is, of course, exactly the situation our characters have found themselves in. Yeah, again, Jay's holding up those really cute illustrations where it just shows off all of the dangerous stuff.
Definitely also just on his own a much more dangerous kaiju. They were going for like one of the lazy, not all that. Yeah, docile is the perfect word, kaiju.
And she likes to sunbathe.
And Akara is not gonna land in that category.
Not at all. But so the two halves of the team come back together now that everything's set and everything's going badly. Of course, Marco is pissed that Pearson has killed these guards. It causes even more tension with the group, and Marco sees that the two kaiju are in their like posturing position, because he's done a lot more
Apparently
research.
they like charge up before they fight, which is an interesting lore for this universe. I like it having its own things, but I can certainly see how somebody might read that and go, that is a very plot convenient thing to have them just like stand there charging up for, I think it's up to 2 hours is
I
the
think
time.
it makes sense. Like if they live in the deep sea and they say they're like building up oxygen. I feel like they explained it in a way where I was like, I buy it.
I don't know. The taking 2 hours to like charge up oxygen was a little
up to 2 hours.
Up to 2 hours to charge up oxygen was a little, it is very important. It was a little bit where I was like, that could be a little convenient. The book does enough to where like it's not, an overly upsetting thing. It was certainly a little,
Yeah, because it's kind of like this standoff situation where I'm like, I kind of get like they're trying to. There's like this intimidation phase where it's like, is one of you gonna leave, or are you gonna like actually have a kaiju fight? I believed it, but I also picked this book because I like it, so I was primed to believe it from the start. But yeah, so these kaiju coming to fight has thrown everything off. They no longer have the huge window that they thought they were going to have while Muhara was sleeping, so they can no longer dig underneath to the side of the safe so that Michelle can crack it. Instead, our boy Marco has to come up with a plan on the fly, and his plan is insane, and I love it. It is to use the cables they were going to use to pull the security doors off the building, to attach those to the underground safe, attach the other end of the wires to the foundation of a whole ass building, and then lure one of the kaiju past so it pulls the safe out from underground.
I like this quite a bit too. This was, I think, of the plans, the one that like was that perfect blend of, cinematic enough to be visually very interesting in a comic book, made sense, had a like good build up to how you have to make it happen that's like good for reading. Like it was the perfect blend of all the elements you want for a comic book, medium type plan. So yeah, this was, I think, a highlight of the book.
Absolutely. And it felt like such good responsiveness, and weirdly something we've talked about when we talk about like Mark Waid's writing of the Justice League. I like that throughout the book, I think that James tries to use the skills of each of the characters.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like anyone is just there to fill a genre role, right? Like it does feel like each of them kind of gets their moment to shine with their role.
Yeah.
And this is, of course, one that both benefits Marco, but also very much Black Cat, because he's in charge of like the equipment. He's the equipment guy. And so he's dealing with all of this. They successfully string the safe up and get it across. And our boys Black Cat and Pearson have been sent off with the second mysterious barrel, so not the one with the parasite in it, but the one that is full of mullet fish chum, to hopefully lure the kaiju in the right direction. Importantly here, we also have Black Cat stand up for himself. He's like, we're probably gonna die, so I'm going to stand up for myself. You need to respect me. Pearson offers to give him respect if his part of this plan, the cable part, if that works. And that's great. That's great. I hope it all ends well for the two of them. Jay and I both know it doesn't. But we, of course, also have to get a little bit more backstory on our main character, because Marco confronts Gina / Michelle yet again, and we get the sense that Gina's not that Michelle's not a hardened criminal. She had to kill Gina to take on her identity, and this is something that like really weighed on her, that really scared her. She's not a big time criminal. We learned that her whole thing is that she would never take a job that wasn't like right in her strike zone, and so this is quite the change for her.
Yeah.
And it sows that worry that she might not be able to pull this off. Like, this is not something she's been practicing, but that's not cracking a safe while there are kaiju around.
Yeah.
But with the chum out and about, Muhara starts to move about again, but she doesn't take the bait. She walks down the wrong street. So all seems lost until Marco the Madman jumps onto a four-wheeler and drives out in front of a walking kaiju and tries to talk to her. It's not framed as him like reasoning with her. It's much more like he's like trying to block her path and encourage her to go the other way. Although there are hints that the kaiju,
there's some amount of reasoning in there. I'd certainly say.
Yeah, but I don't think it's meant to be that he like. The kaiju are said to have intelligence between an octopus and a dolphin, possibly going up to a chimpanzee. So it's not like he's actually like, hello, go the other way because of reasons. I think it's more that he has this big blanket and stuff, and he's like really like putting it all on the line and hoping that nature favors.
It's a little comment, like you saying it's not like he is verbally reasoning with the kaiju, like so I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, like, and I think that's
he has a monologue that is him all verbally reasoning with the kaiju.
So. Right, I was kind of gearing up to that because I was like, it's not that he's literally trying to convince her with his words, but we do get a wonderful monologue from him where we get so much great character work about like the motivations for why he would drive out in front of a monster and like put his life on the line for this, because he's like, I don't care if I die, you're either gonna walk forward and step on me or you're gonna go the other way and my plan is gonna work. Those are the only two options, death or success, because whether that's from Blackie or from the kaiju itself, that's all he cares about.
Honestly, getting stepped on by a kaiju probably a better way to go than whatever Blackie would do to him.
Yeah, jeez. We keep cutting back to these people from the Dante score, who are like strung up by their wrists and like getting their teeth pulled out. Gross and bad, but well done. Very evocative imagery. Against all reason, the kaiju turns and walks down the other street. Her foot gets caught on the wire. She yanks the safe free. The plan works, and Pearson stabs Rabbitfoot. It's really sad. It legitimately bums me out. Like, it was such a moment of success, and I feel like it's such a good, like...
It's a good pull the rug out under you, because like it's an issue 3. This is not the final issue. This is a penultimate issue, not a final issue. We also get his like, we finally get like the full Pearson, explanation behind why he's being such a dick and
his villain monologue.
Yeah. It's like, I'm just gonna kill everybody and take the money, which is now we got a human antagonist in addition to the kaiju, which I think is a fairly important and like known trope in kaiju media. It's like you need that human villain too.
You need that villain that you can actually confront, because like the threat of this book is really never it's not supposed to be from the kaiju. It's from Blackie. Like, obviously when the kaiju come to start to fight, it's like, oh, that is a physical threat. But the move from we have to succeed or die to you and I, the reader, know that all of these characters are now in danger. It adds such a great tension to the next issue.
Fully.
It's so good. I really did like Pearson's characterization here and his monologue. He's like, the last babysitter, the last junkyard dog for Blackie. When that mission failed, he like tortured his own employee the worst of all, because you can't let these missions fail.
So he wants the money to disappear so that he doesn't have to keep doing this kind of shit.
So he stabs Rabbit's Foot and then dumps the chum on him so the kaiju eats him. Incredibly raw. Incredibly rad.
Love it, though.
But of course, this issue already ending with this massive ratchet intention with the death of Rabbit's Foot, also ends with them realizing that they are out of time to get this heist done, because the kaiju are about to fight. Hilariously, this immediately turns into them blaming Marco again, because it's like, oh, you got the detail about how long they would wait before fighting wrong, which is just classic Marco.
But he set up to, so
he's vibing. We also learn that there's like no chance for Muhara. She's smaller and less aggressive than Ikatu,
Gotcha.
like it's not a good matchup. Like it's
Yeah.
probably going to be a quick fight, which is also not good because Ikatu is much more
Aggressive.
aggressive. So if
Yeah.
let's just say Marco would have had a very different fate if he drove his four-wheeler out in front of Ikatu.
Yeah. You have to go back to Ikatu chucking a car.
It's so good. It's so good. We also in this issue get a kind of final framing device with these stylized scenes where Marco's like envisioning his life after the success of this mission, and it's all about him like being respected by his peers, and like Rich is kind of secondary to that. It's like he has everyone's respect and he's allowed to do more heists. But of course, Pearson is fucking back, and he's causing trouble. Immediately, Pearson and Michelle understand, or I'm sorry, Marco and Michelle understand that Pearson has killed Rabbit's foot. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So they get into a scrap.
Yeah.
But the Kaiju are fighting, so, you know, they can only scrap so long. Turns out, Marco is not the only one who clocked that Michelle is not Gina. And our boy Pearson gets a little stabby again. He shanks Marco once the safe is opened so that he can kill them and take the score. But as he goes to kill Michelle, Marco has a little turn. He asks that Pearson doesn't kill her and instead kills him. It's like, what? We've seen this disregard for his own mortality before, but it's always been because his ego is more important than his life to him, or his reputation is more important than his life. And now we see him offering this sacrifice. He's like, no, let her live, let her get her cut so that she can go save her people. Like, I will die, but don't kill her. And that's so wildly, like, character turny for him. And you see the groundwork of it throughout. You see him and Michelle getting closer. And I think that it was a really well done arc where you see his values kind of. He's never a, like, full hardened criminal, right? Like, he's never a bad guy the way that Pearson and Blackie are.
Yeah. I'd say he's a hardened criminal. I just don't think he's, you know, like an honorless criminal, or like however you want to put it. He's not like, you know, squeamish or, you know,
for sure.
You know, he doesn't feel like a first time criminal, whatever, you know, whatever the opposite of hardened criminal is.
Absolutely. You know? Which Gina very much does, or Michelle very much does. But in this moment of, you know, hesitation and disruption, something unexpected happens, and in the Kaiju fight, Muhara actually gets the hand up in the fight against Ikatu and, like, starts kicking this bigger, stronger, more aggressive Kaiju's ass. And very much reflected in that, we see Michelle and Marco start to fight back against Pearson. And my god, maybe he should have gone back and gotten killed by Blackie. The swipe of the Kaiju's tail with this massive spike, just Marco's chest is gone. Or I'm sorry, not Marco. Pearson's chest is gone. There is a huge spike through it, and then he gets crushed against a building.
It's probably the wrong word. It's his head. His head's gone.
His head too. All of it's gone. It's bad for him. And it's great for us because it's a super fun moment where, like, all of this energy comes through and you get, like, this force of nature.
That is just through. I'm sorry. I'm mistaken. Anyway, his head is.
That's fine. Where this force of nature that Pearson did not respect at all, while, you know, Marco has studied and, like, respects the Kaiju and understands them. Like, they are alright. And it feels like a really karmic moment, right? Like, it's a really satisfying payoff for me. Because I feel like if it was just Marco and Michelle killing Pearson or something, that would not have the same, I don't know, grandioseness to it. Where it's like, this feels like such a good villain death.
That's fair. Yeah. I think it's a nice death. I think it is another thing that, if people want to lean into this book having some very convenient moments, I think it's another one that kind of hits that thing of like, oh, okay, yeah, the only person who gets hit by this Kaiju is the villain when they're about to kill the two heroes. So I certainly think there's, you know, there's some criticism to have about that.
I suppose I think the fact that Michelle and Marco had the leg up in that moment, I think softens it for me. Like it didn't really feel like the the kaiju fight does kind of shake their fight a little bit, where
Yeah.
it that, but also Marco distract Pearson enough to get that upper hand, and then the kaiju really feels like it just comes in with the finishing blow for me. But I do understand it being a little convenient, but I found it to be very satisfying nonetheless.
Very fair.
They have a choice to make. The kaiju are about to retreat back into the water, which is going to cause a massive like tsunami as a huge monster enters the ocean.
Yeah.
And they can either try to get this score, try to get these paintings, but die in this tidal wave, or they can leave the paintings behind, leave the score, not get the money, and boogie. Marco is at this point, he's had his character growth. He's like, no, we need to save our lives. Like, we need to go.
Yeah.
And it's actually Michelle now who's like, no, we need this score. So they put their little criminal mastermind brains together, and in a final little moment of genius from Marco, they seal the paintings in what is canonically a waterproof safe, because it's meant to withstand these kaiju events. They have the cables that are still attached to the safe, and Marco ties it to Muhara, who retreats into the ocean, dragging the safe along with her. Super rad. Absolutely love it. The tidal wave comes. They off screen make it out. They made their choice to get out. So we're just like, okay, yeah, they made it out. And 2 weeks later, they've chartered a crew so that Marco can free dive down to the nest of the kaiju. And this is where we get kind of that intelligence reasoning moment, I think. There's this beautiful interaction where Muhara's eyes open as she watches Marco attaching the cables to the safe. And he gives her a little salute. And you get this sense of like companionship between the two of them, like this sense of like mutual respect, which I really love that moment. But they've got the paintings, they're able to fence them. Marco gets his money to Blackie. Michelle gets her money to save her crew. Marco even gives a little extra money to Blackie. He has a cute little moment where you think that he's standing up to the criminal overlord, but he's like, I actually didn't say any of that. I'm not that stupid, but I wanted to. It's like, I like that we got to see it, and then had that little witty ender to it, because it wasn't really important to see how they resolved themselves. But then we see that the criminal, the criminal respect didn't quite get him what he was looking for. His dream from the start is not panning out to be exactly what he wanted it to be. But then Michelle contacts him and brings him out to Bermuda, and he's got a little bit of spark again because Michelle offers him a job. It's so fun. We get that's the end of the book. I enjoyed this book quite a bit. Jay, how did you enjoy Kaiju Score?
I enjoy this book a lot. I really like the characterization. I think is like one of the strongest things in it. The art is phenomenal.
It's so good.
I like the way that it plays on all the heist stuff. A lot of the heist tropes work really, really well. I got two criticisms. One is I think the actual ending with the safe and everything is a little fast, especially when they spend a lot of pages after it on like where the characters now aftermath stuff. I'm like, I didn't really want it to end when the water first swooped in. Like, I feel like that isn't really a great end point there, and just going like, oh, and then they're fine,
Yeah. Like, there could have been an exciting sequence in there.
Exactly, especially when, like, we didn't... It didn't feel like we ever got, like, a full climax sequence, because the fight with Pearson is cut off fairly quickly, with... it gets cut, but they don't get... You get a few shots before he gets tail whipped, and dies. So, like, I didn't ever feel like I got the full, like, more drawn-out climax that I wanted with, like, the way that this book built really, really well. And my other one is somewhat in the use of kaiju. Because I like their place in this book a lot. I like the lore behind them. I feel like their destruction and stuff only ever matters when it really like benefits our characters or like leans into it. Like it's like a thing of like I would like to have seen them like hit into a building and our characters have to like, you know, avoid getting hurt. Like it doesn't ever really feel like they are under threat of the destruction, despite the fact that we hear that they have to get out of there, you know, immediately. And then obviously the tidal wave comes in to make kind of fit. But yeah, like I think that's what makes some of the things feel convenient to me, is because it's not like, oh, there's the good and the bad. It feels like the kaiju only ever help them, which is, you know,
and
a little bit upsetting to me, with such a cool concept where it's like, you could have had all this destruction and stuff that you had to kind of maneuver around.
I think especially with the introduction of Ikatu, bringing that second kaiju in as this kind of like, oh, the plan is fucked now because of this situation. It doesn't really fuck the plan in any reasonable way. It's like we know that once they start fighting, it should be bad, but then they're fighting, and like you say, it doesn't really affect the characters negatively. Like literally, it saves them.
Akatu even like aside from going into the water to die and causing the wave, I don't know that Akatu actually does anything that affects the characters in this book.
No, I don't think so.
Even the bad things, the kind of bad things, because Pearson, like you know, puts that in motion to kill what's his actual name is Black Cat. Whatever his actual name is. Palermo, that's his word. Yeah. Like even when he's killed by a kaiju, it's the quote unquote good kaiju. But that's obviously because of Pearson. Like it just feels like Akatu as this like you said, this hyped up as this like violent, angry, like literally when we're first interested, we get a page cutaway of like, oh, Akatu just like throws cars and stuff when it comes. Akatu doesn't actually do any of that in the present. Akatu doesn't destroy things randomly that, you know, would be dangerous for our characters. So that's my thing. It's like I just feel like you have this cool thing, and again, I don't care about it in the early stuff because like we knew Mohara was supposed to be asleep, and that was all. But when you're like, oh yeah, we're gonna have these two, you know, kaiju in the city as we're trying to pull off this heist, I feel like it just gives you so much runway to do things.
Absolutely,
this book didn't quite lean into. But that's not to say the book.
No, I think that's a very valid thing, especially because one of the lines I think in the first issue when they're talking about the heist is like, why are we doing this when the kaiju are here? Why don't we just do this when a hurricane is coming? And it's like the trade-off of those, like the kaiju are a mandatory evacuation. People have to leave the city. Whereas with the hurricane, you know, it's a voluntary evacuation. And it's like because the kaiju are so dangerous, and then they end up being more a set piece than anything, than an actual effective piece of the board. And I think that we talked about the importance of Pearson as like this human villain, as this villain who's like on the ground. And yes, that is important, but it's better when that's not the only thing. Like with the kaiju, like,
I don't want them to be like the villain, but like I want them to still be like an obstacle to the characters achieving their goal, and it doesn't feel like they are at any point, you know.
And at least not in any way that feels like tactile on the like, because the big threat that they are is that like the effect that they have is that now we can't drill to the side of the vault, but that's not like they hadn't even started going down the side of it yet. So like it doesn't actually affect the narrative that we're watching.
This 2-hour timeline, which like makes this thought of like, oh, once they start fighting, nobody's got a chance, and then they start fighting, and it causes no danger to the characters.
And like, there's a
timeline about. You could have just kept going.
Throwaway line from Michelle about how like, oh, with the kaiju like hitting each other and shaking the ground so much I can't crack the safe, but then she does. With semi-ease. So yeah, I think that's a very fair fair point.
That's my main overarching like thing that I think like in general like would have really helped this book. But
I think it's something that is a little bit of a danger when you write a book that's this but this. So like a heist book, but there are kaiju there, and it's like you write a good heist book, but you need the kaiju to.
And it's interesting because listening to James Patrick's like talking about doing it, it did start conceptually as just a heist book, and like that seemed to be what he wanted to tell, and so I think that's reflected in the book to some extent.
But hey, it gives some good visuals. I want to take a quick minute to talk
And
about
the world lore
Rembrew's
is
art.
that's where the kaiju actually really succeed, is in like the world lore and the world building and the way that it affects Marco as like a character in a planet. Like all of that, phenomenal. It's just like their actual physical presence in the book.
Yes, but their physical presence is beautiful thanks to Rembrew.
Yes.
I love the art in this book. I feel like all of the characters are so expressive. You get such like personality through how they look. Like the one that I want to call it is actually on like page fucking 5 or something. It's when Michelle is killing Gina when she first meets her, and you can see the like greenness on her. Like you can see that she she does puke after killing her, but you can see that she's like not comfortable holding this gun. That this is not like she's not a trained killer. Like this is clearly a very inexperienced criminal act, and so much of that is through the art. And then the way that Rabbit's Foot Palmero is drawn throughout this entire thing offers such characterization. Brew does such a good job with like exaggerating features so that it's like cartoonishly clear who these people are. Like you look at them on the page and you can immediately read their character.
Fully agree. And I, being a lover of all the like back matter, extra information stuff, like James Patrick in the trade letter talks about the fact that when seeing Rembrew's artwork, he knew that he had to like make the characters kind of snappier and more like exaggerated characterizations because of the way that Rembrew's art style, like, you know, functions. And like that is something this book is so strong at, is the writing and the art stylistically match so well. Like these characters are these exaggerated kind of, you know, very snappy characters, and that is from the art to the way that they act, to their dialogue, to everything. So again, the characters are the strong point of this book. And the thing is, when your characters are your strong point, like that is a recipe for success in comics, because people can excuse basically anything if you have really good characters.
But the way that they draw the kaiju is also so fun. I feel like they have a really cohesive look to them while also being like very different, like between Muhara and Ikatu. Like they're clearly very different creatures, but they do look like they're like made of the same stuff, you know?
Yeah, because they're both like animal bases. Like the one is kind of like
shark,
a turtle,
and the other's kind of a turtle.
The other, I think the other one's a stingray or a manta ray.
That's fair. I was thinking shark because he has a fin, but in any case, like they're really fun kaiju designs and really, really fun.
But the way that works for them both being like sea creatures makes it very cohesively. But they are like stylistically, they stand out in the book because they're like drawn kind of, I think, like rounder and smoother than like a lot of the other things in the art style, which allows them to feel very like special and different.
And like larger than life.
Exactly. It's a good thing that like, because in comics scale can be lost a lot. And I think making them look very stylistically different makes them feel big and special, even when like we have a close-up or something that might make the scale hard to, you know, see.
Yeah. So like big ups to the entire creative team on this book. I feel like it's
fully agree.
I really, really enjoy it, and I don't mean to make it sound exclusionary. We both like the book. It's just I feel like across the board, the team did a really good job with it.
Yes.
Even if there's some you know,
absolutely.
Missed opportunities. I still think it was a really, really fun book. As there usually will
be in a 4-issue mini too.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to fit a lot in. Though there's another volume. So let us know if you'd like to see us continue with Kaiju Score. Do you remember what the second volume is called?
Steal from the Gods, I believe.
There you go. Yeah. That sounds cool. Let us know if you're interested in that.
Because we'd love to read it.
Suggestions for the Strange Saturday Super Show. You know,
absolutely. Well. And if you're excited about Kaiju, keep an eye on our regularly scheduled pod as the new Godzilla universe rolls out.
That's right.
We were incredibly impressed by the Free Comic Book Day previews of those books. So we're going to be reading, I think, a good handful of them.
2 out of the 3. Literally both of not the main Godzilla book. We will be reading, I think it's Godzilla Starship, and then I can't remember what the kind of like
the like wastelandy one.
Yeah, the wasteland one's called. I can't remember what that was called.
But we've got it on our pull list, and make sure to subscribe to add us to your pull list. And as always,
see you next week, Comic Geeks.